guys, welcome back to the channel. Today I have Jessica Long from Our Long Life blog, and she is going to tell us all things traveling with points. So if you have no idea what I'm talking about, you will soon. And if you love to travel for any reason at all, whether it's just a regular vacation or road trip or a girls getaway or couples retreat or whatever, she is going to show us how to do that on the cheap. And I'm not talking like backwoods kind of camping situations. Like, she is going to show you how to go to Hawaii for a minuscule amount of money. And I can't wait to talk to you and hear more about it. So tell me, how did you get into this?
Sure. So when I was young, we traveled some around the U.S., but we didn't travel that much. My mom would take me to Disney World. That was our big family trip with a lot of times just me and her or with our family friends. Nice. And I love to go around Epcot to the different countries.
Yes,
but I never traveled to other countries around the world. And then I went to college, and a lot of my friends had these international experiences. Mm-hmm. And so in college, I was like, I need to start traveling internationally. And in the last 15 years, I've traveled to over 18 countries and just loved traveling and still love it. And now I have a family of my own. Yeah. I've got a growing family, and we still love traveling. My son is 4 years old. He's been on over 50 flights.
He's been everywhere. Absolutely everywhere. Yeah.
And then a lot of times I was just fine with using a good portion of our budget on travel because I love it so much.
Yeah.
And then I discovered the world of points and miles, and it has been a total game changer for me. So the last couple of years we've been staying at nicer hotels for way less money.
That's amazing.
Just using credit card points for our everyday spending.
That's awesome. And so, I have no background in this whatsoever, so you're going to be teaching me all the things too. The most that I do is I have a credit card that gets me miles. And I think I'm doing good with that. But yours is on a whole other level, and I'm so excited to learn about it. By the way, she studied economics at Harvard, so this girl knows her stuff, just so you know. So how would you describe what you do?
So the basics are you apply for a travel rewards credit card. One of the most popular ones to apply for is the Chase Sapphire Preferred.
Okay.
And
I think that's the one I have, actually.
Yeah, that's a great one. That's the one they recommend for all beginners. It's great because when you get those Chase Ultimate Rewards points, you can transfer them to different travel partners. So that gives you a lot of freedom to pick and choose what brands you like, where you like to travel to.
Yeah.
If you like to travel on Southwest Airlines or to Hyatt Hotels, it helps you transfer to those travel partners.
Yeah.
And that's a big key, is you want to transfer those points out of Chase to those travel partners when you're ready to book. Because a lot of times if you book through the Chase Rewards portal, you're going to pay a higher point rate.
Oh.
So your points go a lot further when you're transferring out to Southwest Airlines or Hyatt Hotels.
You are teaching me so much already. Oh my God.
Yeah.
Okay.
That makes your points go a lot further, so therefore you can book a whole stay instead of just one night.
Yeah, and so you wait to do that until you are ready to actually book it.
Yes, when you're ready to book it, you want to go to that hotel and say, is there a point availability? Mm-hmm. And then when they say yes, you say, okay, transfer my points out. It usually takes just a few minutes to get over to that traveler, that travel partner, and then you book it.
Yeah.
Because once you transfer them out of Chase, you can't bring them back. So you want to wait till you're ready.
Gotcha.
You know they have availability.
Right.
And then you can book it that way. Yeah, and that helps the points go a lot further. Absolutely. A lot of times you can get 2 cents per point versus half a cent per point or something like that.
Wow, and that really adds up.
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely. One of the basic principles is that you're signing up for a card like that, and the big part is to hit the sign-up bonus. So right now, on the Chase Sapphire Preferred, you sign up for that 60,000 point bonus. Mm-hmm. And a few months ago, it was even 100,000 point bonus. So it varies and changes. I don't necessarily recommend waiting. I think if you get really into it, you can kind of know, and maybe you do want to wait for the best bonuses. But I think just getting started, sign up, and they have a minimum spend requirement, like spend $3,000 within 3 months. And a lot of times I'll wait until, okay, I see we have some big expenses coming up, our car insurance is due, you know.
That's a great point. You don't have to spend extra money in order to get these extra points. It's things that you would already be budgeting for, like car insurance or a home remodel, or whatever that big expenses you're gonna have. Plan it around that.
Exactly. And that's something I highly recommend. A lot of people say, oh, I have to hit the spend, I'm gonna finally get that fancy purse I want. And that's like not, that's what they want you to do.
Right.
Like, this is supposed to benefit you and not the credit card companies.
Yes.
Like, you wanna make sure that you can still pay off your bill on time, in full every month. If you can't, then the rewards are no longer worth it, because they're gonna charge you more interest on those, on pulling over a balance than you would get on a hotel stay.
And that's why I love your perspective on it so much, because it's not just about spending the money in order to get the points. It's about using that money that you already need to spend on something, right? Not spending in excess, because that's a slippery slope.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So the credit cards are designed this way for a reason. They want to encourage you to spend money, but you have to figure out how to make it work for you and get those rewards without, giving them any extra money.
Right.
So you're basically just spending on a credit card like you would a debit card, and a lot of times if the balance gets high, I'll go in and just pay it and not wait till 2 months away, just so that balance is then gone and it's out of your bank account. So you're not seeing all that money build up in your bank account.
So that's a good question. If you pay it early, right, before the bill comes out, you still get the points?
Yes,
okay.
Definitely.
Okay, so you're not penalized or anything?
No, not at all, not at all. So once you hit that sign-up bonus, whether it's after a month, 2 months, 3 months, within that time they give you, then you get the big bonus, which is like 60,000 points right now on the Chase Sapphire Preferred.
Wow.
And then
that can go a long way too. Oh my gosh.
And then you have all those points to use, and that could probably be a couple nights at a luxury hotel.
Nice.
Yeah, which could save you $1,000 or even more. Yes. And I'll give some examples of how I saved a lot of money with those rewards points in a little bit.
Okay. So what was your first trip where you were able to use your points? Were some sort of deal like that you were able to kind of get more or do something different than you would have normally been able to do just paying cash?
Sure. So I kind of eased into this hobby like yourself, where I started using points for like Southwest flights, and then I got the travel rewards card, and I was like, oh, I can use this for hotels for even more savings. And I had like a test trip to make sure it was going to work. And then I started planning like a bucket list trip to Hawaii, because I'm like, this is awesome. I'm so excited. I want to take advantage of this.
I would love to go to Hawaii, but it's expensive.
Yeah. Hawaii was always one of those trips where I'm like, I'm going to need at least $5,000 to take my family there. At least. Like, everybody tells you Hawaii's so expensive.
Yes.
You talk to them and that's the first thing they'll say, Hawaii is expensive. And like food and everything, hotels, it is extremely expensive. But these travel rewards have been a game changer. I don't know when I would have been able to afford a $5,000 trip. Like, it would have been for a very special occasion where we planned for it.
Yes.
But we were able to go on my first big like travel hacking trip in April 2021 to Hawaii, and it was awesome.
That's amazing. How long were you guys there for?
We were there for about a week.
Oh wow. Yeah, that could get very pricey.
Yeah.
Do you know offhand like what you ended up paying in the end?
Sure. So we saved over $6,500 on.
That's higher than I thought it was gonna be. Oh my god.
Yeah.
Wow.
So the hotels we stayed in were all $600 or more a night, and they all have resort fees. Every night they'll have an added resort fee, taxes and fees on top of that. If you want like valet parking, food, like all that stuff adds up, and it was more than $6,500. We paid for all hotel stays and all flights for a family of 3.
Wow.
To Hawaii, to Maui.
That is amazing.
Yeah.
And what a savings that is. Like, you could do so many other things, right, with that $6,500.
Exactly.
Wow. And it's all just from calculating those points in your credit cards and switching things around with miles and all of that.
Yeah.
Right? So what is the most amount of money that you have saved using points in miles and all of that on a trip?
Sure. So we went to Hawaii in Maui in April 2021, and my husband told me I want to go back this year for longer, and I was like,
I got this.
"You're crazy." Yeah, I was like, "You're crazy. Let's do it."
Yeah. I love it.
Well, I was apprehensive of if we could make it happen or not, but it all kind of worked out where we did have a chance to go again, like a baby moon before baby comes. So that was like a great excuse to go. And I thought I could do it even better this time. And use
I
what I
love it's a
learned.
competition with yourself.
Yeah.
Like, I can beat it. 6,500, whatever.
Yeah. So over the next like 6 months, I was like, okay, I need to earn more points on cards so I can like pay for another trip to Hawaii and build up my points. Because when you go on a big trip like that, an international trip to Hawaii, a long trip, you're gonna burn through all those points, which a lot of times is recommended to like go ahead and use those points so you don't like lose them somehow, or they don't like devalue in price, things like that. Like they recommend, using them and not just hoarding them all.
Right.
So, and we love to travel, so it's not really a problem for us.
Trip? Okay.
So in December 2021, we went back to Hawaii. We went to Maui and Kauai because I wanted to do something different.
Yeah.
Once again, we paid for all hotels, all flights in points. It cost us about 250,000 points.
Wow.
And 200,000 that was for the hotels.
Whoa.
Yeah, and it saved us $10,000. $10,000 trip to Hawaii. we would never take a trip that expensive without points and
I
miles.
was just saying, what does that feel like to be able to say that? Like, I saved $10,000.
Yeah, it feels awesome, and that's why I want to share this information. I'm not trying to hoard it or make it seem like we secretly won the lottery or something.
Yeah.
Like, this is available, to anyone really that can, has the ability to pay off their credit cards and kind of can hit the minimum spend on credit cards.
Right. And if you are putting, your car insurance and your groceries and your, all of that stuff on those credit cards anyway, you might as well have it work for you.
Exactly. And even if you have a little bit left, there are tips to do that too, such as you can buy like a grocery gift card for $500 and then that hits the spend and you can then use that grocery gift card for the next like few months.
Yeah, and I've seen you do that before actually, because she'll post on her like Instagram and stuff, like little tips that she did that day or whatever. But the grocery store, like 4 times the amount of points on this day, I'm like, that's brilliant.
Yes, they call that stacking, where you're like stacking different deals on top of each other. And another big tip, like once you have a few cards, you figure out which card gives me the most on every purchase.
Okay.
So certain cards will give you 5 times on groceries, and certain cards will give you 5 times on gas. So you want to know like, how do I get those 5 times points? Because it does add up.
Yeah.
Especially when you're spending $100, you can make that as if you would have spent $500 and not just $100.
Wow, that's amazing. How it just kind of quadruples on itself. Yeah.
There's also shopping portals like Rakuten, and you can even get Amex points instead of cash back on something like that.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So do you get more when you choose to receive points instead of like cash back?
So with the Amex points, a lot of times you can make those points go further than the cash.
That's awesome.
So if you know how to do it right, then it can be worth more than the cash. Yeah.
So does it become like a competition within yourself though? Like, let me see all the things I can stack on each other.
I think it does, but sometimes I think it's a little stressful because you're like, ooh, I used the wrong card, or I could have gotten 5 times points instead of 3 times points. But as I've done it more, I've tried to let that go more.
So do you ever pay cash for anything?
Not if I can help it.
There you go. Make it
Not if I can help it, yeah.
I love it.
We do sometimes pay cash for something like your taxes, whenever they have an extra, like a large extra fee for credit cards. Unless, like, that's the only way you can still hit that spend, and then you can pay, and it's worth it to you to pay those extra fees. Because sometimes when you're paying the taxes for your home, they'll have a big fee to use a credit card, and a lot of times we'll just do cash for something like that. I feel like, I wish I would have known about this sooner.
Yeah.
Like when I was getting married,
when
I was buying a house and like furnishing it.
Yes.
I used a debit card until I was 30 years old.
Wow.
So
Yeah.
I feel like I missed out on something, but it's more time to practice good financial habits. So.
And it's always constantly changing too. There's new deals that come out every day. And so even people that did it for the last 10 years are still having to update themselves daily, right, on what's the new thing.
Yeah, but I guess I feel like I traveled a lot for like college friends' weddings or just fun. I feel like maybe a lot of that could have been paid for with points that we were spending on wedding and home expenses, you know.
Not anymore.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
You're like, I got it now.
But apparently there's like a community now on Instagram, and there's a lot more like female voices and just a lot more voices on Instagram. So I think that information wasn't as accessible as it is now. Before it was more like on a deep secret Reddit forum or stuff like that. Or people didn't really talk about it. You know, now I think it's a little more openly talked about. Like the points guy, a huge voice in the points community.
Yeah, and like Jessica was on a podcast a couple months ago, right, where she talked all about this. And it's I feel like people want to travel and they are afraid of spending the money or don't have the money, and so they think travel is unattainable, but it's not, right?
No.
Like if you do it the right way, if you can plan ahead, right, months, years in advance sometimes, right?
Yes.
You can do it.
And there's those people out there that are taking those business class flights to Paris and staying in a luxury hotel. I love that. I want to do that. But there's also the families of 6 who are just trying to fly their whole family to visit other family members and stay at like an IHG hotel that has a couple connecting rooms, that has the space, kitchen that they need to like keep their whole family there and see family members that they haven't seen in years.
Yeah, and that's what it's all about. I mean, people travel for different reasons. Sometimes it's for fun, sometimes it could be for a funeral, right?
Yeah.
And you don't want to have that financial burden on you, and this is a great way to help you through that process.
Yes. And I've heard of that too, and that's a great way to travel with points too, where sometimes you don't get those last minute price hikes with certain travel partners. The points price stays the same regardless of cash price, and that can be a great option for those like emergency last minute flights.
Absolutely. What is your favorite travel tip to tell people?
So one big tip that I haven't mentioned yet is with signing up for a card, especially as like a married couple, or even if you have a good friend that you want to start traveling with and y'all want to try to do this together. A lot of times you don't want to put them as your authorized user. So for example, your spouse, a lot of times you would have your spouse on your card typically so you can both spend. But if you don't put your spouse on your card, then you can refer them to get that card. And when you refer them, they sign up. You get a referral point bonus, like maybe 15,000, 20,000 points extra for you. They get the card, they spend their $3,000, and then they get the 60,000 point bonus. Now, instead of 60,000 points, you have 60,000 plus 20,000 bonus, plus another 60,000, plus the 6,000 you've spent on the card. And all of a sudden, that money that you have is growing, closer to a Hawaii trip instead of just a weekend in Miami.
That's sneaky and I like it.
Yeah.
Because I always thought, okay, they'll check the household, right, the address it goes to, but apparently they don't do that. They don't care.
No.
They're like, you get credit, everybody gets credit.
Yes, exactly. Each person's kind of their own person. And if you're like, well, I need my spouse's help to spend that money, you can always put that card on your Apple Pay, on your Google account. A lot of times I'll send my husband to the grocery store with my card. They never really check, and we have the same last name too. So a lot of times it's not an issue, but you can add them as an authorized user, but a lot of times you then have to take them off. So it's easier just not to add them.
Yeah, perfect. But does point accumulation like this, the spending that goes with it and all of that, does it negatively affect your credit? Because it sounds like you could get into having a whole bunch of different cards, right? So does it knock it down a few points?
This is a big misconception that a lot of people in the points and miles community try to clear up. It does not impact your score negatively. A lot of times it can often help your score. Because a lot of times when you get a new card, you're growing your access to credit and then you're using a lower percentage of it. And there are people that can talk about this like way better than I can. But no, as long as you're paying off that card on time and in full, and this is the same as without a rewards card, That's what really helps your credit score and keeps it high. I have a 775 credit score. My husband has over 800. And honestly, like, we don't spend a lot of time worrying about it.
Right.
Because,
just as long as you're paying it off, you know, you don't have that revolving high balance, you know, that's really what keeps you from having that high credit score. So as long as you're paying it off every time, you should be good.
Exactly. And there might be a little bit of that because when you first apply for a card, you see a temporary dip in your score because they're pulling your credit report to make sure that you can get that card and you have the ability to like be paying it off.
Right.
So you'll see a small dip, and then after you start using it and paying it off, that your score goes right back up to where it was or even higher than before.
Wow. All right. Good to know.
Yeah. And if you start adding more cards to your collection.
What am I going to use today?
A big tip is to put auto pay on so that when your balance hits, it automatically pays your card. I know it's a little stressful to some people, but that helps you not lose track of you know, paying the card and missing that payment and then getting hit with like the fees.
And also having the tip of if you know you're going to spend something, like you're buying new furniture for your house, you save up that money, you have the cash ready to go, you charge it on the card, and you apply the cash to your card immediately. That way it's just a transaction, but it doesn't do anything to you negatively because you've already planned for it.
That's exactly what we do. I mean, we see a big expense coming up. My husband has, our health insurance or our car insurance is coming up, or we did buy a new couch last year. And it's like, okay, let me get a new card first.
Right, make it work for you. Absolutely.
Yeah. And a lot of times it's looking at that spend too, and then looking at the bonuses and what cards, you know, benefit you the most.
All right, so we've talked a lot about what to do, right, when you start this point accumulation process. But what's one thing to avoid?
Sure. A lot of people get pressured into getting store credit cards. And that's a big thing to avoid. Is I like a lot of the cards from like Chase or Amex, and like the store cards are a lot of times just for that store, and you can save a lot more money going through like the big bank cards.
Right.
And then also figuring out where you like to go, what travel partners you like to use. I love Southwest and I love Hyatt. So I focus on those.
Right.
That's where I get a lot of value. We live near Southwest Airport, and they fly to a lot of different places. So we get Southwest cards through Chase. We get Hyatt hotel cards through Chase. And then when you're targeting on that, you don't have a little bit of points over here and here and here, and then you can't put them all together.
Right.
Or you don't want to go on a trip and stay at one hotel every night. Maybe some people do, but we don't. We like to stay at one place.
Time, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So when you are applying for a card, then can you see what their travel partners are, like what their points?
Yes.
Where you can spend your points before you even sign up?
Yes.
Okay.
And the lists are long. Their lists are long for Chase and Amex. Those are the two big names. There's a bunch you'll hear about, like the Capital One Venture X card now too is really popular. They have a great new card out, so you'll hear a lot about that. The Built card is a newer card that's good for paying rent. A lot of times people aren't able to get any credit card points on rent, and the Built card has made it where people can earn points on paying rent, which is great for places, especially outside of Texas where there's apartments everywhere too.
Right, and rent is so expensive, it's money you're spending anyway,
Yeah.
so might as well get a little kickback. So we've heard about your amazing trips to Hawaii and some other places that you've been to, but where's a place that you haven't been to yet? What's your dream location you want to go to?
So some of our bucket list locations are Greece.
Me too.
Yeah, New Zealand.
Oh my gosh.
So those are a couple top places, and then we do love beach locations. So I've never been to Turks and Caicos or the St. Thomas, St. Lucia.
Yes.
So those are also ones I'm hoping to go to in the next few years.
That would be amazing with the second little one too.
Yes.
Yeah.
And we're already hoping to go back to Hawaii when baby's big enough to make the trip.
And I love that too, that you travel with your kids. Well, one kid, this one's, come along for the ride, but that you take them with you, right? That family travel is accessible and affordable if you plan it out and count your points and earn it that way.
Yeah, and there's definitely great tips for traveling with families as well that I love to share. And we love traveling as a family, and whenever you get to see like the young kids see things for the first time, it just makes it that much more special.
Yeah, that's what makes family vacations great, is that you can make it your own, and through points, you can do that in a cost-effective way.
Exactly, and especially for an expensive place like Disney. Like I mentioned before, I've been going to Disney World since I was a child, so when my son was 6 months old, we had such a special trip that we took him to Disney World at 6 months with me, my husband, my baby, and my mom. So getting to bring my son with my mom to Disney World and kind of show him what I used to do was like that much more special. And Disney World, Disneyland, like those are not cheap destinations.
No.
And some families, they feel like it's like a Hawaii trip, because a lot of times it costs the same amount as Hawaii.
Yes.
Like you're gonna go maybe 1 or 2 times, and you can't afford to go every year. So with points, there's a lot of hotels near theme parks that you could stay at. And there's even certain cards that will erase the theme park tickets.
Oh,
That they have rewards where you can buy the tickets through the right website, and then they can erase that as a travel expense as part of the perk of the card.
Wow, that's amazing. Okay, I have to get more information on that
Yeah.
later. So where can people find more about you and about all the information that you provide?
Sure. So I'm mostly on Instagram, posting my like daily updates and plans on Our Long Life blog. And I also have a blog that I post occasionally on ourlonglife.com.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much for joining us and for showing me and everybody else how to get started in this whole points thing. It's not overwhelming. You gave us some great tips on how to get going with a couple cards and which ones to maybe start off with and dip our toe in, right?
Yeah.
And I can't wait to see how everyone does with this, right? To see where we can go and to pay the least amount of money possible.
Thanks so much for having me on to talk about it. I'm really passionate about it, and if anybody has any questions, they can message me on Instagram and ask me. I like talking about it, and I just started really a few years ago, and I feel like I've learned so much, so I'd love to help pass it on to help other people travel with their families and friends.
Absolutely. So definitely go to her Instagram. It's Our Long Life blog, and follow along because she has great tips, especially on her stories. She posts all sorts of stuff. But if you like this video, make sure to give it a like and subscribe to the channel for more info like this.
I like it.
All right, here we go.
Sit up.
Suck it in.
You
You don't have to suck it in. I know.
I was trying to make it look like I'm pregnant. I might mention it in the video. We'll see.
You are pregnant.
Only 9 months. What did she just say?
You're like thinking you're cursing all over the place.
Commercial break.
Right?
When we come back.
Hello.
It's ad for kitchen tools.
Right. What?
And then you have to say, oh, this podcast is sponsored by, you know, Home Chef. I don't know. I don't know what to. I love my Home Chef, and that's how I get inspiration for all my new recipes.
I love your
My advertising voice. It changes to like the deep male voice. Biggest expenses.
Right. Wow, that's a great tip.
Yeah. I changed it at the last minute.
See, this is why we edit.
Yeah.